Hey, it's Foreclosure Girl Boss, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you've seen some of my other videos before, welcome back. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, so it's a newer channel, and you liking my videos and you subscribing. This kind of helps let me know that I'm on the right track, and it keeps me motivated to keep going and keep posting videos and just coming back. I would just love for you guys to like, share, and subscribe. All right, so today's video. Today's video, I wanted to talk about exit strategy because before you can even start to make money in purchasing REO properties, foreclosure properties, you have to know what your exit strategy is. And what I mean by that is you have to know, like, what are you going to do with the property once you buy it? What is your strategy? Like, are you going to buy it and fix it up, rehab it and resell it for a profit? Or are you going to buy it and be a landlord? Like, are you going to do a buy and hold? Are you going to do the BRRRR method, the BRRRR method? you know, are you going to do micro flips with it, slow flip? Like, what is your end game with these properties? Like, how do you want to make money with these properties? And for every investor, it's different. Every investor is different. Some investors only rehab and resell. Like, they want that quick money. Like, they want to buy a property, they want to go in there, they want to fix it up, make it look really beautiful, and then turn around, put it on the market, and sell it for a profit. Right? And then they want to, rinse and repeat and do that all over again. And that's the only thing they want to do. They don't want to buy and hold on to properties. They don't want to be a landlord. Like, that turns them off. Like, they don't want to do any of that. Right? And you have some investors that want to buy and hold. Like, they want to buy a property and put a tenant in there and make their money long term. Some investors, that's just what they do because that's like their retirement plan. And that's their way of building generational wealth. If you fix and flip it and resell it, then that house is gone and you're, continuing to move on and you're rinsing and repeating. But if you're buying and holding on to property, then some people would use that as a way to create generational wealth. And they also use it as a way to have income every month because some of these properties, they're generating income between the amount of money that they pay for their mortgage, if they have one, because some investors will just pay cash. But so if they got a mortgage on their property, then they're going to get the difference between what they pay in their mortgage and what they're charging for rent. So that is considered their cash flow. Well, there's other things that go into it, but I won't get into that in the sake of this video. but those that buy and hold, they after their expenses are paid and all that, then whatever they have left is their cash flow, and they're looking to build that cash flow, and then they're looking to create generational wealth and build what they call a portfolio. So they just want to continue to get properties. Sometimes they'll call it doors. They'll continue to get properties. They'll continue to buy doors. And then they have that as a retirement income, or they'll have it for generational wealth, things of that nature. Those are called buy and holds, right? And then you have some investors that'll do the BRRRR method. And it's they'll buy a property. Let me see, it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, rinse and repeat. All right, so that's the BRRRR method. All right, that was brutal trying to get through that, but it's like the BRRRR method, right? So what they'll do, they'll buy a property, then they'll go in there, they'll rehab it, and then they'll go in there, they'll put a tenant in there, which is renting it out, and then they'll go to the bank and refinance, and they'll pull that money out. They'll pull that money out, and then they'll just rinse and repeat and just do it all over again. So the money that they would make if they would have sold the property, they'll get some of that when they refinance it. They won't get all of it, because typically when you refinance, you can't pull out 100% of the equity. You can only pull out like a certain amount of equity. There may be some lenders out there now that can do it. These lending products change all the time. But typically when you refinance a property, or if you get a HELOC on a property, typically you can only get a certain percentage of your equity out of that property. So they rehab it and put a tenant in there. And then they just pull that money out. And then they just go find another property and they do the same thing all over again. All right. So you have that strategy. And then you can also do what they call micro flipping or slow flipping. And some investors will actually move into the property and they will buy that property as their primary residence so that they can truthfully buy it as an owner occupant. And they plan to live in that property for 2 years. So they move into property with the intent to sell it in 2 years. Typically, when you are an owner occupant, you have to sign an affidavit that says that you plan to occupy the property. And typically that affidavit says that you intend to occupy that property for 2 years. Now, some investors lie, and that's just what it is. They lie and say that they're going to live in the property because they typically will get a better rate from the lender if they're going to own and occupy it versus if they're going to buy it as an investment property or if they're going to resell it under 2 years. So sometimes they'll actually just lie. Please don't do that, guys. Please don't do that. You know, this I'll say this realm, for lack of better words. I'm at a loss for words right now, but this realm, this industry, you guys can make a lot of money without lying. You know, because banks are cracking down on that and people are going to jail. So the last thing you want to do is commit mortgage fraud, because that is exactly what that is. All right. So don't do that, guys. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. That is really self-explanatory. Don't lie, because it could be considered committing mortgage fraud. So what they'll do is they'll plan on moving into the property and staying there for 2 years, and they'll just fix it up really, really nice. They'll just take their time and fixing it up, and they'll live there for 2 years. And then after the 2 years is up, they'll sell the property. And when they go sell the property, it will be a completely rehabbed property. So not only are they gaining the appreciation in the market, because, you know, hopefully during that time, those 2 years, the real estate market has appreciated and the values have gone up. But now they have a completely renovated property to put on the market, and they just do it at their own leisure because they live there. That is their home. Okay, so that's the slow flip. Some people call it the micro flip method because it takes so long. You have to be willing to live in that property for at least 2 years. All right, there's some people that will do it, you know, longer than that, but for at least 2 years is how that particular strategy will work. So again, this kind of circling the back and about to land the plane here. You have to figure out, what is your exit strategy? Like, what is your purpose and your goal for buying these foreclosure properties? What you want to do, what your exit strategy is, all of that. Like, you need to figure that out before you buy the property, before you put your offer in. Like, you have to know your exit strategy. And the reason why you have to know your exit strategy is because each exit strategy has its own set of challenges. It has its own set of expenses. So you're not going to do a buy and hold like you would do a buy, rehab, and sell, or buy and sell. Or fix and flip, right? So usually the terminology is, do you want to fix and flip or you want to buy and hold? That's the terminology, guys. So Fix and flip means you're going to buy it, fix it up, and flip it. Try to put it on the market and get money for it right away. And then buy and hold is when you want to buy the property and hold on to it. You're a landlord, and maybe you manage your own property. Maybe you get a property manager, but you're going to hold on to it longer term and put a tenant in the property. And if you're going to do the BRRRR method or the slow flip, the micro flip, like all of those, each particular avenue is going to give you a different different interest rate. And down payment is going to be different for each one if you're not paying cash. How long it takes you to get your money is going to be different. And how much money you get is going to be different. So you're going to have to weigh the pros and cons, and no one really can do that better than you. That's something that really you need to sit down and figure out, okay, what's the pros and cons of each so that you can figure out which method you want to do. And you need to figure that out before you buy the property, because as you can see, because the numbers are all different, if you start out wanting to do a fix and flip, and then now you want to do a buy and hold, now the numbers are different. And even worse, if you started out wanting to do a buy and hold, and now you want to fix and flip. Because sometimes when you buy and hold, meaning that you're going to buy it and hold on to it, you don't necessarily need the appreciation to be there. You don't necessarily need there to be a huge spread between the amount of money that you put into it and the amount of money that you're going to sell it for, because you're going to buy and hold on to it. You're putting a tenant in there. You're making your money month over month over month, year over year over year. And you're just adding it to your portfolio. But if you change and now you no longer want to do a buy and hold, you now want to fix and flip that property, well, there might not be that much spread in that property for you to make any money after you put the money in it to rehab it. So, for example, if you buy a property for $100,000, and let's say rehab that property would only bring you $150,000. If you listed and put it on the market, completely rehabbed, it will only yield you $150,000. And let's say you're buying it at $100,000, and let's say it needs $30,000 worth of work done to it. So you're in it $130,000, and I'm just using nice round numbers. You're in it for $130,000, right? I haven't even gotten to holding costs. I haven't even gotten to your closing costs. I haven't even gotten to any of that. I'm just gonna go straight round numbers. And if you talk about paying commission to your agent, if you have to pay closing costs for the buyer, then those numbers and expenses are starting to rack up, as you can see. So if you're already at $130,000 just from purchasing the property and the rehab, and I haven't even gotten to your closing costs and other expenses, holding costs if you got the property through a hard money lender. But as you can see, if you decided to buy it as a buy and hold, where you just buy it for $100,000, you put $30,000 into it, you put a tenant in there, and you just get your money month over month over month, year over year over year. If you started out with that strategy and then you decide to change up to a fix and flip, well, you can't make any money on that property. There's no money to be made on that property. You're going to break even at best on that property. And I'll just go out on a limb and say you're going to lose money on a property that has those type of numbers, right? So, again, that's why it's super important, guys, to make sure that you know your exit strategy. Make sure you understand, what are you going to do with this property when you buy it? Like, what's your plan to make money with this property? How are you going to make money with this property? What are you doing? Are you going to fix and flip? Are you going to buy and hold? Are you going to do the BRRRR method? Are you going to micro flip? Like, what are you going to do? And you need to know that before you put your offer in, because that is going to determine your numbers. It's going to help you determine how much money you can make and how you want to make money and things of that nature. So don't lose money not knowing what your exit strategy is, or don't try to change your exit strategy mid-game to a strategy now that is not going to yield you any money. All right. So I'm hoping that that wasn't too confusing. I'm hoping that you understand what I'm saying when I say your exit strategy. So start thinking about your exit strategy. If you want to be successful and if you want to make money and buying these foreclosures like a boss, then you have to know your exit strategy. Super, super, super important. Super, super, super important. So I hope in this video that I have explained that to you so that you understand why you need to know your exit strategy. Hopefully I've given you some examples of some exit strategies that you can now understand how they work, because maybe you've heard of it but didn't really know exactly what it was, or maybe you kind of thought about it but you never really had it broken down to you before. So anywho, like I said, make sure that you know your exit strategy before you go get your first REO property. And for those that have been doing it for quite some time, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you may have some horror stories of how things didn't go quite right if you didn't have an exit strategy. And I know it's one of those things that you learn over time as an investor. And once you become a seasoned investor, then it becomes second nature to you that you have to know these things. So again, guys, know your exit strategy. Super, super important. All right, toodles.